introduced legislation amending TOPA in response to the Museum Square issue that was mentioned. It was 401 K Street. And for those of you who aren't familiar with it and they haven't been following it in the city paper, what happened in 401 K Street was that TOPA requires that an offer of sale be a bona fide offer. Bona fide is really a legal term of art. Of course, it's not defined by the statute. The way that I've looked at it, me personally, not my office, is that it has to be something that's reasonable, legitimate, a commercially viable kind of offer. What they did with Museum Square is like I think a 300+ unit apartment building built in the 70s and the 80s. It's been predominantly Section 8. I think it's a lot of elderly Chinese folks, so non-English speaking. The Section 8 contract is expiring, and so basically the owner sent the tenants an offer of sale for demolition purposes. They intend to demolish the building. Whenever you demolish a building or discontinuing housing use, TOPA kicks in. You have to give tenants an opportunity to purchase. So they sent the tenants an offer of sale because they intend to demolish the building, but the asking price is $250 million. So, I mean, I think the assessed value is like $36 million. Let's just say for discussion purposes, the actual valuation is more like $100 million. Well, what the owner has done is they're asking for a future intended use of the property after they've torn it down and built another city vista at the opposite end of the block. So the property is actually in litigation right now. The tenants have sued because they didn't get a bona fide offer of sale. So Councilmember Catania introduced legislation at the end of the last legislative session, which will require, I mean, I'm having trouble with the reading, my reading of it, but basically, it's going to require for 5 or more unit buildings that 2 appraisals be obtained. It says an appraised value means an objective property valuation based on the current state of the property and existing zoning, building, and occupancy permits that's no more than 6 months older, and that the offer of sale has been determined by 2 independent appraisals performed by 2 appraisers qualified to perform multi-unit appraisals. So my reading of it is that for 5 or more unit buildings, there's going to be a requirement, an appraisal requirement of 2 appraisals. I don't know who's going to pay for it. I don't know where those come from. I mean, those are kind of questions that my office is grappling with. It's temporary legislation. It's already gone up. The emergency legislation expired on January 5th. The temporary legislation is up before Congress right now. If it goes into effect, it'll be in effect until next fall. So that's yet another requirement. You look stunned, Caitlin.
Oh no, I'm not stunned.
No, and I will just say, I'll just leave this last DCAR sort of word, is just so you know, we've kept an eye on this. It also got sucked into sort of the mayoral debate, so that was part of this thing. But more importantly, we recognize that the majority of folks in this room sort of deal with in the 1 space and the 2 to 4 space.
Okay.
Those 3 different categories of 1, 2 to 4,
okay.
and then 5. Those requirements.
5
we recognize that, but we are also keenly aware anything that happens to 5+, depending upon how it's written, can bleed into the 1 and 2 to 4 space. So we are watching it, we are aware of it, but we also know that the focus, and I think Angela and I, the task force has discussed, the bulk of our focus is going to be the sort of one and 2 and the 2 to 4.
Yeah, I just mentioned it because I didn't know if anybody was involved in 5 or more. Because you might even do a small building that's only 5 units.
That's true. That's absolutely true, and that fits depending.
Right. So I just want that to be in the back of your head, and if you come across that, contact my office. We're still figuring it out, so I don't have the answers yet. Or contact DCAR.
And then I'll just put this last plug in on your behalf. When we first met with Lauren, one of the things she heard is, what we've heard from people is Lauren and her staff are incredibly responsive. When we talk to Lauren, she says, I love talking to realtors when they have read the paperwork and ask specific questions. As she mentioned earlier, the ones who drive me nuts, see the form. And do me a favor, you all are here because you obviously do enough business and you get it. Please feel free to spread the word about what you heard today, about the speaker series, and about TOPA, that Lauren is open after you've read the paperwork. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I'm sorry I talked over time this time, so if you have questions about